Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Paul Thomas Anderson's new action thriller that stars Leonardo DiCaprio, one battle after another. Starring alone, Leo is of Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, and newcomer Chase Infiniti, who I have never seen in anything before, but lands a role amongst these big time actors in this film. The film follows an ex-revolutionary who must rescue his daughter from a corrupt military official. This is a Paul Thomas Anderson film. PTA, as he has been dubbed by the film community. He is one of those directors that his work. He has a style to his film, a certain feel to his film. It's not so much style in the sense of the way he moves the camera or things of that nature, because all of his films are different. He doesn't make the same type of films per se, but he does have a bold visual style to his films that you can feel that it is a Paul Thomas Anderson film. Going back to Boogie Nights and Magnolia and There Will Be Blood. Those type of movies that are just stellar films. He even managed to get a Academy Award worthy performance, in my humble opinion, out of Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love. I thought that was a really good performance by him, and PTA managed to draw that out of him. And so we get to this film, and it's more of an action movie. At least that's the way it was marketed as, coming from PTA. And I'm like, well, hey, what's the worst that could happen? I've seen certain elements of his film that has some action elements in it, but nothing that screamed an action movie. And this isn't an action movie in a sense like it's Die Hard with a Vengeance, but it has a real thick action element with some really good action sequences throughout. This is a phenomenal movie. I went into this movie kind of blind. I really didn't know what this movie was about. I knew the synopsis going in, but I didn't know what we were getting. Was this like a comedy? Because he's done that too. And I'm talking about PTA. What is it? The one with Joaquin Phoenix. Inherent Vice, I believe the name of it. It wasn't his best outing. I'm not gonna say it was bad. It didn't hook me. It wasn't for me, that particular movie. But this movie, I don't know, is weird, but everything worked. It's rare that you go into a film and, the acting, you get a whole check mark on every aspect, the acting, the direction, the writing, the cinematography, the set designs and all that. It's rare that everything works in the movie, no matter what type of movie it is. And this movie did it. And I'm just blown away on how well made this movie was. And it's kind of sacrilegious to say that about Paul Thomas Anderson because he is such a phenomenal filmmaker. But man, I didn't know he had this in him. It's weird. It is the weirdest thing ever. Leonardo DiCaprio, he gives one of his best performances in a while. I would say since Wolf of Wall Street. I think this is one of his best performances there, and that's where I was kind of confused going in, because the marketing of this film, if you watch the trailers, you see Leonardo DiCaprio looking real comedic, real goofy and silly in certain aspects of the trailer, and you're like, oh, this is like a comedy. Is this going to be a dark comedy or something like that? No, I mean, there's funny elements in it. He is funny unintentionally, but he's funny. I loved his character. His character was so layered, dealing with what he had to deal with throughout this film, where we start off the film at a certain part with him, and then when we pick up with him 15 years later, and is a completely different man, and he has to deal with things different than he did 15 years ago, being as though he has a daughter, and life changes. And I can relate to that as a father and anybody who's a parent at all. You didn't do the same things you did before you had kids, or you didn't react to certain situations the way you did before you had children. You got to think in a different manner, and they really did a good job. They being PTA and Leonardo here with this character and how he played them. Benicio del Toro was great. Regina Hall was awesome. Teyana Taylor. That was my one question mark going into this movie, was her. Multi talented. She is a phenomenal artist, has a very successful musical career. Didn't really feel that she could hold down the fort here. Not to poo poo on her acting skills, but this is a PTA movie. You're in a film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn. I just didn't see her mounting up against these two juggernauts of actors. She proved me 100% wrong. The only knock I would have on her character is that we don't get enough of her. That's the only thing that I have a problem with, and that's a good problem to have. She did phenomenal in this role. Really shocked me. Now, I'm not saying awards, you seeing her name pop up in awards when they start announcing nominees in a couple of months here, but I mean, she did a really good job. I was really impressed with her performance. This newcomer here, Chase Infiniti, who I haven't seen in nothing before this, but I can't wait to see her in things after. She is a revelation. She's kind of the MacGuffin of this movie. And a lot of the heavy lifting was her. She had to do a lot of the heavy lifting throughout a large portion of this film, and she did it. She did it. Once again, she had scenes when it was just her and Leo, and she held it down. When it was her and Sean Penn, and she held it down. And with other actors as well, with Regina Hall, they had a good scene together. I deeply enjoyed. It was just some really good work here by her to say that to me, fairly new. Now, she's probably been in other films before. I just haven't noticed her before. But she's young, and that's good, because that just tells me we got a lot of good performances ahead of us, because this is an announcement to the world by her. But with all of that being said, with all of the names that I just said, did a phenomenal job in this film. The MVP, hands down, is Sean Penn. Sean Penn. This is, I've been watching Sean Penn for over 40 years. I've been watching this dude perform. I'm talking Fast Times, Richmond High. I'll go all the way back with this band. Yes, he won an Academy Award with Mystic River, and he was nominated for countless times for his performances, rightfully so. I honestly can't think of a Sean Penn performance as good as this one. He dove headfirst into this, and my God, because if you know anything about Sean Penn, you know that this character is night and day to the real Sean Penn. This is so far from Sean Penn that you can get, but man, I believed every moment he was on screen. This guy, he plays this military officer, and his walk alone, just the way he walked, he literally walked like something was shoved up his behind. And that's who, that's what he is, man. That's what his character is, bruh. Everything about him was phenomenal. At first, when he first popped up on screen, I really thought he was going to be a silly, goofy villain here. You know, a dumb antagonist that our heroes have an easy time slipping away from. But once you get past the first two scenes with him in it, you quickly realize that no, he is not silly at all. He is not goofy at all. This dude is calculated and cold and dark. And you know, this society that he's trying to be a part of is even darker. Another element of this film that I didn't see coming was how topical it was. This is so topical of a film that speaks to the current events that's currently going on in America. And you're sitting there like, when did PTA write this? Did he write this a month ago? Because everything is like ripped clean out of the headlines of today. And it's weird that it played out that way and this movie comes out when it does, you know. But it is so topical, but it's done in an exaggerated way, you know, that's not linked to actual events that's taking place now. You know what I'm saying? So it's fantastical enough to detach from the reality that we live in, yet it does shine a mirror on the reality that we live in, and I appreciated it for that. Paul Thomas Anderson directed the piss out of this movie. This is one of his best directed films. There Will Be Blood is probably my favorite film from him. I love that movie and everything about it. You know, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, come on. He was great in it, but the cinematography, the story, the epic feel of it all, I thought that was just a phenomenal film by PTA. But this rivals it to me. I'm not going to put it over it. It's early yet. I mean, you know, cool heads may prevail in a couple of days or so. Is it that? Well, I ain't going to put it that high. But as it stands right now, it's pretty high. It's pretty high on the list. This is a film that reminds me of the old days. And I'm not talking black and white movies, but I'm talking about movies like in the 90s. You know, when you had filmmakers actually making movies they wanted to make. And that's when we got the independent boom around that era. That's when we got the Tarantinos. You know, that's when we got the Rodriguez and, you know, directors of that ilk that just popped it. Paul Thomas Anderson. And that's when we got those directors who were making movies they wanted to make. You know, that we got to see their vision without studio interference and all these other elements that come into play. This was what this movie felt like. It felt like an old 90s independent film that actually had money, you know, that actually had financial backing. And man, I enjoyed it. I super enjoyed it. This movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and I didn't feel it. You know, at no point did I get bored with this movie. Normally, when you get to the hour and a half, hour 45-minute mark, you might start itching for that watch just to see what time it is, how much longer we got. I didn't feel that way at no point in this movie. In fact, I wanted more. I was mad that it ended. It was blink and you missed it. The movie was well paced and it moved so well. There was a couple of scenes in the middle that probably slowed it up a bit, but it needed to slow it up to kind of breathe and get the story elements, you know, to set up where we're heading in this film. But overall, it was a quick watch, I felt. Even though after I left, I looked at the watch. And I was like, oh wow, I was in there that long. But yeah, it was worth every single second of it. One battle after another gets a letter grade of an A. Yeah, it's one of the best of the year. I don't be shocked if you hear this movie name dropped during award season, especially for Sean Penn. I'm rooting for Sean Penn. This is one of the best performances of the year from anybody in any film, any genre. I I love that character. Or, well, let me take that back. Let me take that back. I don't love the character, but I love the performance. But I would like to know, what did you think of One Battle After Another? Did you enjoy it? Are you waiting for it to come on digital or something? Look, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you this. This movie was made for the theaters. This movie was beautiful, and it needs to be seen on the biggest screen possible. It was filmed for movie theaters, and I pray that people actually go out to the theaters to watch this movie. It is worth it. It is truly worth it. It is a visual feast. But I would like to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of One Battle After Another. I want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.